Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Upset Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Latasha Hewitt, and we are here for another lively discussion. Before we jump into the discussion, first of all, hi, guys. How's everyone doing?
Hello.
Good day to you, madam.
Good.
And brethren.
Good to see you all. As you guys know, last week we had our part 2 of the discussion on police brutality, which is a conversation I think could go on and on. But we always like to hear what our viewers and our listeners are saying about the topics that we're discussing. And so we wanted to just mention a few of the comments that were posted, particularly on our Facebook page regarding our discussion last week. I'm starting from the bottom because I'm assuming that's the order. We talked about a lot of things in that discussion, if you guys may recall, and some of our viewers were saying shoot, don't shoot scenarios, because we were talking about when is it appropriate to use deadly force and whatnot. And then one of the comments, we were talking a lot about the importance of training being necessary. Some of our listeners were saying training is not just necessary for the police, but also for civilians in dealing with the police.
Well, you train the people that are accountable to you.
Okay. All right. We got that.
Well, can I speak to that?
Yeah, go ahead.
I did see a video a few years ago about an attempted citizen's arrest of a police officer.
Oh yeah,
and it was all on tape. And the problem was the police officer didn't really fully understand the statutes of the state, but the person in the community, the citizen, did. And he was sitting in an unmarked police car. And he went up to the person and went up to the police officer, had him roll his window down. He said, "Sir, officer, do you realize you're in violation of state regulation?" And the police said, "How so?" He says, "Well, you're driving around in an unmarked car. That's not allowed in this state, and you're breaking the law." And even went so far as to get snarky about it. He says, "Well, I just want to let you know, and I'll let you go this time." And
wow.
So the citizen went even further. I said, "Wow, this is gutsy." He said, "Do you have any identification? How do I know that you're really a police officer?" And so the police officer pointed to the patch on his shoulder. He said, "That's all the identification I need." He says, "Well, why don't you go ahead and call your supervisor or your dispatch and ask them, is there a state regulation against police officers using unmarked cars?" And he didn't do that. But when he saw how informed the citizen was, he backed down. And you know what? That video ended with him saying, "Thank you." He said, "I didn't know that." He says, "I got to check on that, but thank you for letting me know."
Was this a white citizen providing this information?
Yes.
Oh,
yes. Well, you know what? I
go.
can't say for sure because I didn't see that. I only saw the police officer, and the police officer was white. But I guess I'm bringing.
Did you notice any billy clubs going upside the head of you?
No.
Okay.
No. But I think it speaks to the point of knowing your rights. I mean, the guy was not disrespectful at all. He was very respectful. He didn't raise his voice or sound indicting. He was just informing the police officer that that's sort of like entrapment. By hiding yourself in an unmarked car. So I just thought I'd bring it up in the context of the training. I think citizens should know more about policing and know more about
and their rights. Yeah.
That's
go and do thou likewise, Chuck.
But
right.
A part of me has a problem with being a black man that informed, that ready to have an argument with a police officer, because I know that my melanin is already weaponized. And so if I have all the statutes and information memorized and I can intimidate an officer, I'm going to be dead. So I'm not interested in that, but I think that's cool.
Oh, understood. Absolutely.
Well, yeah, that's another weapon right there. You're right. All right. And then Bobby Lee says he's happy to see you.
Hey, brother Bobby Lee from Oakwood. It's good to see you. He was a good guy then, and obviously a good guy now. Good guy now.
Oh.
He was. I was. It was. You know. It was parenthetical. He was a good guy then, and obviously a good guy now.
Good fix. Good fix.
Yes, yeah. And Yanni, another viewer, talked about. We were talking about how it's not just about Black, the abuse on the Black communities, but there are also countries. No. I'm sorry. I'm dealing with another topic. She was talking about the history of policing. I'm sorry. And so she was mentioning that, we often talk about its roots in English policing, but not about the fact that it has its roots in Southern slave patrolling and in the original language of the Constitution, which was written without Black people in mind. So pretty much, reiterating some of the points we brought up about the system wasn't meant to protect us. And then this was the one Havis was talking about, being profiled as a Black and brown person and how he grew up in the Caribbean. And he did experience some brutality, but not to the extent that it happens here. So it was great to kind of read some of these comments.
And Murray said that the baby was beautiful.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
That was for you, obviously.
Thank you. The baby's in the corner right now, so if I go off screen, you know what it is.
Give that baby a mic.
I know, right? She probably has a lot to say. But we just want to continue to encourage you all to dialogue with us. We love reading your comments and being able to share them. And so we're going to make a nice little shift into today's discussion, which, it's one of those discussions where you almost don't know where to start and you're not really sure how it's going to end, but we're just going to jump right into it. And Tally, how about you tell the folks what we're talking about today?
Well, today, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, we're going to be talking about a topic that has generated a lot more heat than light in many places, and that is the issue of individuals who love individuals of their own gender. They use the expression nowadays, same gender loving people, but the catchphrase that we often use is homosexuality. Nowadays, there are a plethora of letters. LGBTQIA is typically what we say. And in another lifetime, I worked within that community quite a bit. But the issue now is, how will the church, how do members of the church accept, embrace, address, discuss, and consider individuals who are in our fellowship who may come to us or who may live lives where they are sexually attracted to individuals of their own gender. And there's a wide spectrum of things. I mean, for example, we have people who are transvestites who want to dress as members of the opposite gender, members who are transsexual, members who perceive themselves to have been born in the wrong gender, but the overwhelming issue now is LGBTQIA phenomenon, where we are dealing with people who are not cisgendered, which is another word, people who act in accordance with what we think a quote man and a quote woman should act like. How do we accept them? How do we embrace them? We know that for ourselves, it typically starts out with this passage, and now I'll leave it with you to start. Leviticus chapter 18, verse 22, do not lie with a man as one lies with a woman. That is an abomination, the Bible says. So, gentlemen and lady, how do we begin this discussion?
Well, before we take a deep dive into this discussion, can we establish what LGBTQIA actually means?
Lesbian, LG, gay, LGB, bisexual, LGBT, transsexual, Q. Now, it used to be questioning, but now they say queer.
Queer. Mm-hmm.
I is intersexed, and A is something that I don't know yet.
Asexual.
Asexual. Okay, thank you. I was out of that job before they put the A at the end.
They also have it as an ally. So where you
ally,
but you
Supporter.
Oh. Especially in theological cases.
Yeah. Can we all acknowledge and admit that all of our churches and all of us have people in our lives and people that we know that we love who are what we would consider to be a part of that spectrum of letters, LGBTQIA? That all of us know someone and we all love someone and we all have associated with someone who is not heterosexual. Maybe that's a better way of saying it. Can we all acknowledge that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Well, there you go. I think the show is over. Okay.
And we love them just the same. Yeah.
Yeah. So why is it that if they say, Pastor Talaferro, I am a man and I love another man and I am attracted to him, that when they tell me that, suddenly I have to change the way that I deal with them or I address them?
That's a good question. I mean, it seems like we know about it, but until it's expressed or until they quote unquote come out and flat out say it, then we have a problem with it. But as long as they don't say anything and they, mind their business and we don't know about what they're doing, like we don't care. We just care about whether they're actually sleeping with someone of the same sex.
Practicing.
But we don't care about their orientation, do we? Do we really care as a church?
I remember you use that, reading the scripture and that word abomination. And I remember that being heightened, like it's such an abomination. This particular sin, I mean, as a child, I remember the picture being painted that if people are this way, God is so unpleased. And, there was so much negativity centered just on this one particular sin.
Yeah.
That when you saw, you were almost conditioned to be repulsed by it and to reject it at all costs and to say, oh, this is what the Bible was talking about. And I think, we were conditioned to feel like we had to treat people a certain way or we needed to look at this particular thing in a certain way. And I think as you develop in your Christian walk, you recognize that this sin is no different than any other sin and shouldn't be categorized in such a way that we want to exclude people as opposed to include them just like anyone else trying to make it to the kingdom and trying to find their way in their Christian journey.
Yeah, I can relate to that because I grew up thinking that the worst place in the Bible geographically was Sodom and Gomorrah. But as I got older and developed, I realized that their greatest sin was not homosexuality. It was exploitation and greed. And so, people need to be informed that, hey, listen, Sodom and Gomorrah is not just a tagline for the most terrible thing, the most greatest evil that God abhors. So it's important to be informed.
I think one of the biggest problems that we have is the response factor, which makes people afraid to come out or to even, quote unquote, get caught. It's always the way we respond. Our response is not Christian. Like if we would do what Jesus would do, right? His response when they brought the woman to the when he's writing in the sand, right? What we always say, he's writing the name of all of those who probably was with her, right? And I know we're saying, okay, you're talking about adultery, but what about the abomination of being gay? They're all the same. They're all lumped in together.
What?
But yeah, I can't believe it. Can you believe it, GT?
What about the levels? What about the levels, man?
Yeah, there's purgatory sin, there's heavenly sin, there's earthly sin, and there's Hades. I guess I don't know. There's all types, but I think the biggest problem is the response that we come away with. Because if someone came to us and we said, "Hey, my son or so and so just murdered someone. I don't know what to do." We'll hug them and we'll hold them, or we'll visit them. That response is different than the response of saying, "Hey, my son is gay," or "My daughter is a lesbian. What do I do from there?" The response is right. The response is really what we should be thinking about. How do we respond to that? And most of the time, it's not loving. Let me just put it that way.
Right. I believe the Lord is looking for that response. I mean, do we respond on behalf of the church, or do we respond on behalf of our heart? And some of us are conflicted with that. We're a member of the Seventh-day Adventist Church, and we believe in the rules and regulations and the denominational policies, on and on and on. But I believe the Lord wants us to respond with the heart and not a representative of the church so much, or reinforcing what the Bible says about gay and lesbian, lifestyle. You really have to search your heart, because no matter what a person does, they are a creation of God.
Mm-hmm.
I want to ask us to address a couple of things. I listened carefully over the last statement Chuck made about the gay and lesbian lifestyle. I'm not sure if there's anything in the Bible about a gay or lesbian lifestyle. I mean,
You mean Jonathan and David didn't have a?
Wow.
Go ahead, Tally. I'm sorry.
And you often hear that. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, but I mean, look, I mean, look, you guys, I love you guys passionately. Now, if any of you want to hug me, we can spoon. That's as far as it goes. But I don't think that, the question becomes, is there a lifestyle? That's first question. Second one, and the broader question is, like, because we're talking about, if somebody's a murderer or something, everybody, you have to love all sinners and all that. Are gay people sinful more so than, I mean, we all are born in sin, but is a person being gay or being homosexual, being attracted to members of your same sex, is that sinful in and of itself? And that is where people, look at the Bible and ask, what does God say about it? Let's say you have a man who is attracted to another man. Does that make him sinful because he's attracted to another man? And there was silence in heaven for the space of an hour.
That's tricky though, because I remember even being taught about temptation, and how, of course, things are going to be presented to you, or you're going to have these thoughts. It's what you do with the thoughts. It's how you act that determines kind of where you are, whether it's classified as sin or not. And so I'm hesitating because, granted, you may have those feelings. The fact that you have those feelings doesn't inherently make you sinful. It's when you take those feelings and develop them and act on them that you start. But that's with anything, whether it's lust. It's when you see something, you want it, and you dwell on it, and you go out. It's just like anything else. But yet we put that particular one on this scale that seems to, take over everything else. But I think it's the same thing as any other sin. We all have the thoughts, become sinful when we do it.
Homosexuality in and of itself is sinful.
It is. It is sinful.
Okay. Well, now we like now I share this text with you on that. And Jesus speaking to his disciples clearly on issues of gender and sexuality. He's talking about, they came and started asking him about divorce, and Jesus starts talking about divorce, and then one of the disciples said, well, it's better for us not marry. So you see the context there. It's clearly about sexuality and gender issues. And then Jesus says, not everyone can accept this, but only those to whom it has been given, for there are eunuchs. And he's talking now about people who are sexually ambiguous. There are eunuchs, and listen to what he says carefully, who were born that way. And there are eunuchs who have been made eunuchs by others. And there are those who choose to live like eunuchs for the sake of the kingdom. This is Jesus saying this now. Eunuchs who were born there, individuals whose sexual ambiguity comes with them at the point of birth. So do we say to those individuals that your state of being, that you've come here? Now the truth of the matter is we all come with a sinful human nature, but do we move that up exponentially, saying not only are you a basic sinful human being, you're a basic sinful Lgbtqia human being. Right, yeah. Do we add, do we up the ante with that?
I think we do. I think, like you said, we were all born in sin and shaped in iniquity. some are born with a propensity to be alcoholics. Some are born with a propensity to do other things. I think the difference with those in the LGBTI IA community is that that becomes their label. That becomes their identity. It's almost like we don't see anything else but that. Yet we could see a liar, we could see a murderer, we could see an adulterer, and we see beyond, we know that they have those attributes, but when we see, a gay person, that's all they are. They're just gay. And I don't know how we get to the point where we don't look at people as people, but we look at them according to their sin. And that's really the one that's where we seem to do that the most.
I think the biggest problem that we have, again, is one, we don't know how to accept them. So just like we were talking about police brutality in the green room, who are we teaching, right? I mean, those who are accountable, who should learn how to, those who are accountable, and we are accountable to each other. So one of the things that we don't know how to do, we don't know how to express our acceptance while holding on to our beliefs. And I think that is where the biggest problem come from. I remember when the guy had gone in and shot the last mass shooting that we had, and my brother, no, I'm sorry, Chauvin. My brother said, "Wow, if he sits down in jail, paraphrasing, and he accepts Jesus as his Lord and Savior, he will be going to the kingdom." It is, if you saw the response, the comments that followed that from Christians. Right now, this is not the right time. Most people said this is not the right time. This is not the right place. This is not the right, wounds are still open. Yeah. Okay. So if you, our problem is that we don't know how to say, yeah, you're right, man, but I still have a problem with this.
Right.
Yeah, you're right. That the kid that shot up all those people in Wednesday night prayer meeting, he could meet Jesus and be in the kingdom with those 9 that he killed. We don't know how to say, I accept that, and hold on to the same beliefs. So until
on the cross didn't have much time.
Somebody turned to Jesus and said, "It's not time. Ain't no time for that."
Ain't no time for that. But let's be really clear on this. Until you know someone, and the truth is, we all know someone in church that sits next to us, that we work with, whatever the case may be, that is gay or that's lesbian, and most of the times, the problem that they're really going through is rejection. That's what they're going through, and so we have put them in the place of unclean, right? But if Jesus was here, what would he do? He would heal them. See, and that's where the problem is going to come in, because really, Pat, you're going to heal them. And I know people are going to complain about this. Go ahead and write the Upset podcast and complain about this, but we all need healing from sin, and we're all shaped in iniquity in that way. So here, let me go back to my original on this. We hold on to belief systems coming from the church, though.
Right.
Most of our belief systems don't come from God. Sorry.
That's right.
But it comes from the church. Okay. And that is what we don't know how to do. We can't accept it and hold on to our belief system.
I'm just grateful to be able
to... on that thought of acceptance, I think that some of us are afraid to accept because it's perceived as approval.
Good point.
And so we can accept them in our heart as God's creation. We can accept them as a precious soul. But some of us are afraid to go to that extent publicly because they're afraid of, so you accept them, so you think it's okay. That's not what I'm saying. That's not what I would say. I don't think it's okay, and I'm not going to judge, but I will accept them as a child of God.
I'm sorry, Chuck, let me just add this. Another fright that we have in the church is that our family would be judged based on it, right? Let's look at COVID. I know people who have COVID who don't want anyone to know they have COVID.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you kind of say, COVID is not a dirty sin. You know what I mean? COVID don't mean that you know that you had
something wrong.
That something is wrong. You got COVID like the flu, you know, or something like that. But there are people who hide that. So people hid that. Back in the day, people hid where your skin falls off. I'm sorry, leprosy, right? They hid leprosy, right? Because they'll ask the question, well, what did you do wrong in order to catch leprosy? So here now we have our young people, especially our young people. You know, I'm going to fight for our young people. They are confused. They have an influx of television, influx of media, and all these things come at them at one time. They feel something because sin has left the crimson stain. Thank you. Of the phone, TikTok, all of that. And we deem lesbians and gays. We have successful lesbian and gay, even pastors. Maybe I shouldn't have said that.
So we can. So I hear a lot of acceptance. So we should embrace and accept lesbian and gay members of the church.
Yes, because that's what Jesus did. He accepted sinners and hung with them. Yes.
Yeah, he hung. Yeah. So at your church, Justin, a gay person, you're willing to, he says, I'm gay, and you're willing to say, you can still be an elder at this church.
You get fired now. I want to hear this.
That's where it becomes complicated because as a denominational employee,
you were doing this with your finger.
See, so as a person, I can still love them, but as a denominational pastor, I have an obligation to the person that pays me. And so if the Adventist church has a stance about this issue and they say that this person can't serve as an elder, or this person can't serve as a head deacon, they can't serve in leadership, but they can be in membership and they can still be in fellowship, I have to make a decision. Do I just act on my conviction, or do I stick to the denominational rules and be a good old boy?
As long as we don't know. As long as we don't know.
Don't ask, don't tell.
Isn't that what it is? Come on, choir directors. I said it before, pastor. Okay, I said it before, and I'm not hiding off of that. Pastor, choir directors. I've had choirs before. It has a tendency in the gospel music industry, that there's a high gay presence that's there. We know that. We don't say anything about it. We continue to hire. We continue to have them. I hate to even say them. Have them lead out, or whatever the case may be. If we don't know, it's fine with us. But I can tell you this. I'll go deeper than that, GP, with this. If I had a church that had lesbians or gays in the church, I'm going to let the church decide. Not me. Because it's not my church, it's their church. I'm going to let the church decide, because everybody in the church know what's going on more than the pastor know what's going on. They know what's going on in their own church. So when they come to us and say, pastor, and I'm not taking away from you, GP, I understood what you meant by right? The church has to be the ones that we teach them what Jesus would teach them. That's hard, but it's true. I have an uncle that passed away of AIDS in 1994. He was gay, right? And if you're from Jamaica and gay, that's
Batty boy.
Even worse than that, they could take you out and never see the judicial system, right? So and you're talking about my uncle who was hiding under that, but yet was the greatest lover of people.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, go ahead.
I want to ask a question. Let me get it epistemologically centered.
Hold on one second.
Dictionary check.
Spell that. Yeah, spell that again.
EPI-estomology.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
But I mean, and that is, what does it mean to be gay? I mean, because I'm asking that because I want to know where the sin starts. Does the sin, I mean, because I really think what we're talking about is sex. Because I love Chuck, I love Justin, I love Pat. I mean, and you're all males.
Say that again about me.
I love you dearly, man.
Okay, yeah.
I mean,
don't end it with man. No, don't end it with man, because man.
I love you dearly,
guy.
Go ahead. But the issue is this, and that is, until sex becomes involved, there's no sin. Obviously, David and Jonathan were passionately connected to each other, but they were not sexually connected. So it seems to be about sex. Is that what it's about?
Not all the
Tasha?
time, because a lot of times the qualities that are presented, the effeminate qualities are if someone is male and they are flipping their wrist and they tend to speak a certain way or carry themselves in a certain way, a lot of people take offense to that. They may not even be involved in a relationship, but because they are one gender but seem to identify with another gender and are very comfortable expressing that, that's enough for some to feel like, okay, this person is gay and this is their lifestyle and this is who they are. So it doesn't necessarily always have to be associated with a sexual act.
Well, so I guess it could be that, and this is epistemology again, getting to the real roots of what we're talking about here. Jesus in Matthew 22, 29, and 30. And once again, he's talking about marriage. So he's getting into gender issues. He says, you're in error because you don't know the scriptures or the power of God, because at the resurrection, people will neither marry nor will they be given in marriage. So is the aim to be genderless? I mean, so when Paul says, in Christ there is neither Jew nor Greek, male nor female, is that what we're aiming at here? I mean, will that answer this question when we finally get to the resurrection and we're genderless?
Man, isn't that going to be crazy to go to the kingdom and be like, yo, you mean I could have been married to 5 wives or I could have, I'd be like, Jesus, can we get a do-over or something like that? No, you know what? I get it. Let me just go. Can I just go back to my uncle really quick?
Sure.
Because I love that man dearly. He became a homosexual because he was a drug addict. So his vice was not sexually sexually orientation. His thing was back in the 80s, the Wall Street executives, he was their girlfriend. So that's how he was able to get $5,000 a week. And so are you understand what I'm saying? For his drug habit, he didn't come up with the crack. He wasn't a crackhead. He was a snorter. You understand what I'm saying? He didn't spend $10 on that. So his crew was different. In order for him to maintain that habit, that's how that's why he was gay. Do you understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So
no, I don't.
No, you don't.
Well, and the reason I don't, okay. Yeah. So he was not attracted to women because his drug habit changed his attraction to men.
Yes. Precisely. That's
so
why
you're saying that his drug habit resulted in him becoming gay, or was he perhaps already gay?
Right. It could have been an accelerator to his inclination.
Exactly. Well, I could say that too, but let's push it this way, because we're talking about your thoughts and we're talking about the action, or we're talking about if you think you're confused and go into action. The action, I should say, or the drug use exacerbated.
Okay, now that I understand.
I'll go ahead with that because but here's the thing. But he was married. He had children. You understand what I'm saying? Okay. It's not, it's not like he always felt this way. He knew to do the right thing, but coming to the late 80s, it swung him way out because of the kind of finances that he can get in order to for drugs, and he stayed in that lifestyle. But there's hundreds of different ways to this, everybody. Some people think they were born this way. Some has gone to trauma, been sexually abused, been treated poorly by the opposite sex. There are some people who have bad marriages. They break up in their marriages and turn the opposite way because of a best friend that they think they love like that. I mean, we can go on and on and on. But look, when you take this all back to the beginning, I know I'm going to get crushed for this. It's all a sin-sick thing. I mean, when you take it all the way back to the beginning, all of this is because of the war between God and Satan. Can I just bring this to Tally? I want to talk to Tally real quick on this.
What you hear about me?
Yeah, I'll tell you later. That is why I believe that the what we see here happen with LGBTQIA, and there's more to follow after that, is simply Satan's way of getting back at God for not having him a part of the creation. When two angels cannot procreate. But God in the next plan has given to a man and a woman the opportunity to make more men and women. They were instructed to be fruitful and multiply even before sin came into place, right?
Mhm.
So if that should be the case, two men cannot procreate and two women cannot procreate. So this is where I believe Satan has stepped in this manner to destroy the praising factor that God has, that we should be that we should multiply to be able to bring more into the world that look like God. It's a satanic thing, but it's also a satanic thing with adultery, fornication, lying, pride, murderers. All as you read it all down, and they all jumbled up in the same thing. I feel bad because I haven't yet learned how to respond when somebody comes to me and says, "Pastor, my daughter, my son, kids who we work with, academy students." Hold on. Elementary students are now coming to me as a youth director, and not plugging the conference on this, which is the reason why they sent me to school to learn more about how to deal with youth, especially in this situation, because we're living in a place where it's not saved or lost.
May I pose a question to you, Pat?
Go.
You know, angels cannot procreate. And what makes humans different is our ability to procreate. And what the devil does is he destroys that ability so that he can get back at God. Correct?
I believe that. Yep. 100%.
So when Jesus says that at the resurrection we will be as the angels of God, does that mean that after our resurrection, after we have been redeemed and ultimately resurrected, that we will be sexless forever?
No, or else I'm not going. So here's what I'm saying. I believe you know what the problem with Adventists is. Adventists. You know what our problem is.
That isn't the text, though.
No, I'm going to come to you on it. I'm going to come to you on it.
All right.
One of the problems that we have is that we only preach the 1,000 years. We only preach going to heaven. We're going
to be celibate for 1,000 years.
I'll take that if after the 1,000 years,
I can see it now. Somebody gonna say we ran out of cold water again. Who's taking all those showers? That's Pat.
That's right. That's right. I'm on the back to Eden. That's where I'm at.
Okay.
I'm not. So I believe that if there was a plan before sin, I believe God is going to resurrect that plan, no matter what it is. So for example, I love oxtail. I love chicken. I like those type of foods. Guess what? It's not going to be in the kingdom. So I'm expecting God. Hold on a second, God. We talk about that, but I'm expecting God to give me something bigger than that. So just to think, there has to be something greater than sex if He's going to take that away.
But are we saying that we believe that's what that says, though? Like, I don't know if I'm ready.
What you just said, Pat, just generated 5 new shows.
I'm sorry, man.
but
Pat up in heaven with his wife now saying, "No, look, baby, it's only 500 more years."
Well, now let me offer a slight pivot here. We all know that recently the legislature just
hold on one second. Can we call
passed the equality?
Pastor, what's her name? Pastor. Can we get her in here real quick?
Marlena?
Yeah, where is she?
Yeah, she's not able to.
She's not able to. Okay, go ahead. I just
But so now, how do we respond? Talk about response to the Equality Act that was just passed, meaning that you cannot discriminate against gay, lesbian, you know the list.
Yeah.
Now, from an institutional point of view versus an individual point of view, how do we react to the Equality Act? If someone who is gay, who is known to be gay, wants to apply for a job in one of your organization or subsidiary organizations,
right?
Where do we stand as an institution? And as individuals, is our response institutional or is our response heartfelt? I'm just curious how.
It's a good question, Chuck. I mean, how do we render unto Caesar the things that are Caesar's and what we perceive to belong to God? For example, a teacher comes to Pine Forge and we hire that teacher. And then after the teacher's been there for 2 or 3 years, the teacher says, "I'm gay." And we say, "Oh, you can't be gay and work here." And we fire them. The Equality Act says we are in trouble.
Correct.
So what? I mean, this is a real question. I mean, this is a real question.
And I do have, listen, we don't do this to liars. We don't do, listen,
How about
just
that?
because they have a particular lifestyle doesn't mean they don't have the right to work and take care of themselves. That's part
Or
of
be
who they are.
president.
That's not the whole person. And that's what
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying about this label. It's like when you're gay, it's like you're in a whole nother category. You don't deserve to shop where we shop. You don't deserve to be employed where we're employed. It's like you just lose
Discrimination.
all human rights. It's like, what is this? Just
Sounds like a
Dehumanization.
race card. Yep, sounds like a
Yeah.
little race card thing there. Until it was so funny. I was thinking about what's going to happen after this when people start writing us and asking us, we're not Adventist bound because we didn't curse them on the side. The first thing that came out of my mind, well, one of my best friends is gay. That's the first thing that is coming out of my mind, right? I'm starting to sound like
white people with black people.
Yeah, right. Oh, what are you talking about? My uncle was gay. I have gay friends. When the truth is that I shouldn't even have to say that. I would hate to be hated because I'm a thief. You know what I mean? Or something of that. I would hate to be put in a category. And that is what Jesus came to stop us from doing. Again, when they took this woman, and threw her in the midst and ready to stone her, which is the law of the day. That's the law of the day.
Right.
And Jesus sits there and at the end says, where are your accusers? Because then he can turn around right now at the end of all of this and say, oh, you don't like gay, Pat? Oh, I see. But you watch this, you watch that, you talk about people, you hate this person over here. You eat the scavenger of the sea, you this is that. We can name them all down the line. No, Chuck, I don't. But I'm saying you turn around and you say to yourself, that's the equivalent of Jesus saying, you don't like gays. But he writes your name in the sand and your sin connected to it for you to say, maybe I missed the boat here somewhere. So here's the thing. When I look at my church board, some of my church boards, we had liars on the church board. Why should they have a right to be on your church board? But anyway, just write me. Anybody have something to say? Just write me on the upset, and we'll get through it with them.
But there is another side to this because you talked about an employee of our organization, and we do have fundamental beliefs and we do have principles and doctrines that we uphold, and we all say that we subscribe to for the most part. And in some ways that structured part of me believes that, if we believe in the system that we say we're a part of, I don't mind challenging the system. But if we agree to the system that we're a part of, and there's something that comes that is in conflict with what we say we believe, then it puts everything else, the credibility of everything else that we stand for, to be, challenge, which isn't necessarily a bad thing.
Wait, Miss Tasha, let me just add this to. There are also different ways of accepting. Right. Okay, so I don't want. I understand what you're saying because I hear you. You're just throwing darts at me, and it's okay. I'll take it. I'm saying that but there are different ways or different different ways to express accept. So I wanted to add that in there.
I'm talking specifically about employment here because it was mentioned.
Right, and it's not just the Adventist Church. I mean, Muslim organizations, there are other organizations that have the same position.
Mormon,
she just done messed up the whole conversation.
No, I'm just saying. It's a slippery slope because you do. I mean, if an organization stands for a particular thing, it doesn't make sense that you have someone in a leadership role that represents the opposite of what you say you believe. Right. And I mean, that could be for any organization, even if it's not a hiring body.
Agree.
So, I don't want us to get into this part where we feel like, just throw all our standards, throw the standards away, and just love everybody and let everyone.
You muted yourself. Actually,
I don't think that that's the extreme that we're trying to go to. But in terms of blacklisting or putting people in a box because of their particular lifestyle or treating them badly, I don't condone that or promote that in any way. But my thing is, I'll just leave it right there for now.
Wow. Listen, let me go back to work. All right. When I say work, I'm talking about all of us work with Allegheny East Conference, and we have 52 different conferences. We have unions, directors, etc. I'm not going to vote in a treasurer who has stolen money before. I'm just not going to do it. Especially if they have a habit of it. Okay, I'm not going to do that. I do agree with you that we do have to make a stance, but forget the employment. Let's talk about Allegheny East. We still have a standard to achieve, right? We still have to be able to uphold. But besides upholding Allegheny East standards, can we just uphold God's standards? I'm now, this is for Allegheny East.
First and foremost.
It's for Allegheny. I can't speak for Muslims. I can't speak for anyone else. So here's where I am with this. Throw it in. I know that we're focusing on members or those who are connected to the church. When I look at workers, when I say workers, employees, etc., I think that if an employee know that they're this way, they ought to think about applying. I'm not going to apply to somewhere that I know I'm going to be uncomfortable and have somebody else uncomfortable.
Whoa.
I'm not going to. Okay, go ahead, Nick. Go ahead.
Pump the brake, my friend. I mean, because see, the presumption here is that the employee owns the impediment that you place upon him. For example, the employee does not see himself being worthy of the exclusion. That's like a white company saying, we're not going to have any Negroes in upper management. And a Negro who happens to be very light-skinned is able to pass and get in. And then somebody says, well, you knew we were going to find out and we were going to get rid of you. Why did you dare to apply for this? And he'll say, because I wanted the right to be accepted for being fully human.
Okay.
So the real question that we have here is this. Are we simply accepting people to demonstrate our largeness of heart, or are we embracing people for who they are without putting any condemnation on them? And I know we're at the point of ending, and this is a good place to end because it's just a big question. Most gay people that I know want to be accepted as not having an asterisk next to their person.
Sure.
That, that you have to accept me even though I am. They just want to be accepted as, my name is David, my name is Sam, they just say, look, why can't I just be who I am?
Listen, one of the foundations of our church, one of the things that we like to raise the banner on is that we are a Bible-based denomination, that everything that we believe, our whole belief system is rooted in the Bible. So of course, a lot is left up to interpretation when we look at some of our fundamental beliefs and all the things, there's a lot of controversy surrounding. But, when we go back to the Bible, which I think supersedes any denomination, any religion, I'm just looking at the word of God and what it says, although people will challenge the interpretation of that. So I'm not making a choice to classify this as a sin or that as a sin. I feel like it's already been done in the word of God. I think what God is calling on us to do is to use the Jesus model. Now, there's a show that I love. I don't know if you guys have ever seen it. It's called The Chosen. And it's really a great depiction of Jesus's ministry on earth. And the way he interacts with people, even the way he called the disciples.
Without the English, but without the England, it's beautiful, but without the
I can't take the old English.
The old English, but go ahead.
No, yeah, I love it because
the way he called the disciples. Go ahead.
Yeah, the way he called the disciples is like these people were in their daily lives, living their sinful lives, doing whatever, and he would just kind of just call them over. And even though he was aware of everything that was going on in their lifestyle, he made them feel accepted. He wanted to bring them along so that through the course of the ministry, they could learn more about him and what their purpose was in all of it. And there was one particular scene I was watching where he was walking, I believe it was with Simon, and he says to him, you know, you have a temper there or something, he said, but, you know, we're going to work on it or something. So he had a way of being able to show people themselves.
So what would you say to a gay person, Tasha?
So, I mean, hey, it's part of who you are, but it doesn't affect my love for you. It doesn't affect the fact that this is wrong. Okay. And
what would you say to a gay person?
Okay.
Well, you know what? I just want to say, here's my final word. My final word is, if you encounter this conflict, search your heart. We have to adhere to denominational rules. We have to adhere to the Bible. We also have to adhere to the Christ-like way of living. So, my final word, when you encounter this complex issue on whatever level, check your heart.
Well, that was well delivered.
Mic drop.
Yeah, I mean, it's. We want to thank the Right Reverend Dr. Bishop Chuck Williams for.
No, I just see a pragmatic approach, because you can get a headache and a heartache over dealing with this. And, you know, your relationship with the Lord and your heart checkup is ultimately going to guide you in the direction you should go. Yeah. So just check the heart. That's my final word.
My final word is that I am going to deal with gay people in my church the same way that Jesus dealt with all of the gay people that he met in the Bible.
All right.
Yeah, my final word is, this is kind of an admonition. This is what I'm trying to do in my life, is ask God to help you see people as he sees people. Because when we have that kind of heart and love, the labels and all of that strips away. And really, we just want to see everyone in the kingdom and do what we can to assist them in getting there, as well as ourselves.
Yeah, I would say that my final word is to just pray for God to give us a heart of love and a heart of compassion, just like Christ. That's it. Point blank, period.
That's right. That is so right.
You stole it from me, GP. No, really.
You can reiterate.
No, it's love. You know,
love. Elizabeth. Speaking of love.
Oh wow.
Yeah, we can love. We can look at everybody like we're looking at Elizabeth. Imagine.
There you go.
Oh wow.
You know what? We all started off just way.
Like that. Yep. And then we grew up and just realized that one day she's going to get on your nerves, Justin. I think Marlena said the last time I was with you guys, we talked about guns and you wanted to take me to a gun range. When I saw the topic today, I didn't know where you would take me after this discussion. So couldn't make it.
I hear you. So you want to switch me up with GP because he's holding the baby? We're going to do that real quick. So that we don't know where we can get in. So go ahead.
So
we can get the number.
We want to hear what you guys have to say about this topic. You know, we've kind of given our thoughts and our musings, and what are some? Email us, write us in the chat. All right, everybody's just like pointing somewhere. Right? We love to hear your thoughts on this. I mean, and I think it's healthy that we have this discussion, guys. Of course, we don't have all the answers. We're all striving to just live better lives and treat people better.
But we all have hearts.
Yes, we all have hearts, and we need to make sure they're clean. That's so important. Thank you guys for being willing to tackle this topic. We know it's so layered, but we got to keep these conversations going.
We do.
My final question for you guys to consider on the way out is, when God made Adam, before he made Eve, and Adam was running around looking for a helpmate, what was he? Okay, that's my final question.
You know, people are gonna answer that one. They're really gonna answer that one.
Oh yes,
I
but
can't wait for part 2 because I've learned from this, so I can't wait for part 2.
Me too.
no, we're
Me
done.
too.
Like we're not going. No, that's what I'm saying. But we do recognize that this is airing on a very special day that we can't let go by without at least shouting out all of our mothers out there. Happy Mother's Day to all of you. We hope that you are celebrating in a special way. We know that you hold a special place in so many hearts, and the Upsetters want to give you our regards today.
Awesome. I also, when we began, I heard Latasha and Nick singing together, and I think that is appropriate.
Listen, what happens behind the scenes?
We want to keep our audience, don't we?
Really though, what was the song? Something about mothers. What was it?
Yeah, Mama, you know I love you.
How does it go, Nick?
I can't remember, man. Now that at my age, at the end of a show.
The only song I remember is from Motown. I love my mama. So.
Oh yeah, I'll always love my mama.
Right.
How does it go, Nick?
I'll always love my mama.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly. Okay.
She's my favorite
strike.
girl.
There we go.
Yeah.
Copyright strike. Anyway.
But anyway, we thank you for
Mama,
hanging.
you know I love you.
Yes, that's it.
That's what we were doing.
Yeah, that's what you're doing.
And then of course there's the classic Spinner song, Sadie, don't you know I love you, sweet Sadie.
and then you got Tupac.
Oh, how about that? Go ahead, you hip hop pastor, you.
No, that is a beautiful tribute.
It is.
All right, moms. In other words, we love you and we appreciate you. Thank you.
That's right. That's right.
Absolutely.
All right, guys. Until the next time when we upset something else.
Peace.
We'll see you later. Bye-bye.
Take care, everybody.
Bye-bye.